everybody is rolling because it is time for the third edition of the Chasing the Racing podcast. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to, as I just said, episode number 3 of the Chasing the Racing podcast here on this Monday, October 21st, 2019. For those of you who do not know who I am, my name is Kyle Young, here to give you guys all sorts of information and stories about this past week in the racing world. Another phenomenal and busy week in the world of racing this past week. And we're going to chit-chat about it for a little while here tonight. Hope that all of you had a fantastic week, found some way to enjoy something in the racing world, whether it was going to your local racetrack, traveling to a racetrack, or just taking it in through the internet or TV, however you had to do it. Hopefully you had something to enjoy in the racing world this week, because there was a lot to enjoy for sure. Before we dive into our racing coverage for the week, just a few things that I would like to bring up very briefly about the show and the social media platforms. First and foremost, our Facebook page has been absolutely phenomenal. Well, our Facebook group, not the Facebook page. The Facebook group has been phenomenal this past week. Interaction has been incredible. So many of you guys are starting to post things in there, having general racing related discussion, just a lot of things that I'm seeing that I'm very much enjoying out of the Facebook group. I very much appreciate that and continue to encourage you guys to do what you have already been doing. There's been an absolute lot this past week. There's honestly way too much in the group for me to go over and talk about on the show tonight, which is a phenomenal problem to have. I love having that problem already. So continue to do it, keep it up, and it's only going to help the enjoyment and help make this as good as it can be. The other thing that I want to mention is that so far these first 2 weeks with YouTube, I have been very, very bad. It's been a long time since I've had to do any type of video editing, so I have been off my game tremendously, trying to find a good video editing software to do what I need to do to kind of chop up these recordings a little bit, make them good for YouTube. So I didn't end up posting last week's show until last night, so that is totally 100% my fault. I apologize for that. But moving forward, we will not have that issue. I have found a good program to use. I am completely confident in my ability to use it and to get everything up and running as I say and advertise. So from this point forward, I promise you that the Tuesday upload dates for the YouTube channel will be happening. Obviously, if you're watching this on YouTube already, post live stream, then it's not really much of a deal for you. You're not tuning in live, but they will be uploaded at the proper time from here on out, and we'll get on to the schedule that I have set myself to do. So with those two little housekeeping things being said, we're going to dive right in, and we're going to start chit-chatting racing, because we've got a lot of cool things to talk about this week, and it's going to be good. So to start things off for this week, I am going to fill you guys in on what my past weekend of race chasing included. Ended up doing 3 races this past weekend. I was supposed to do 4, but Mother Nature did not want to cooperate on Sunday, so I did not do anything on Sunday. But on Friday and Saturday, I was able to get 3 races in total, my final doubleheader of the year. One thing that I'm totally surprised that I didn't think to mention this, but with everything surrounding Super Dirt Week, I just didn't think to. Super Dirt Week Sunday last week was my 100th race of the year, so I am now at 103 for my 2019 race chasing count. Third year in a row that I've hit 100 races or more, well, over 100 races. So that is super cool. I was really excited about that. I hit 100 way earlier last year than what I did this year, but looking at how things go, and as long as I stay on track, I'm only going to end up losing about 20 races or so this year compared to last year, so I don't think that's bad, considering that I can think of so many things that I missed that I wanted to do this year. So now at 103, which is really cool, but I had to throw that in there before I dove too in depth with all this, because I somehow failed to mention that last week. So Friday night was night number 1 of the Dutch Hogue Memorial at Outlaw Speedway. The Dutch Hogue Memorial is a 2-day show that Outlaw Speedway does to conclude their racing season each and every year. I was at night number 1. Night number 1 featured a full program for 360 sprint cars that was run by the Empire Super Sprints. It wasn't like an actual points-paying event. That season has already been taken care of. They had Sportsman Modifieds. Now, Outlaw does things a little weird with their Sportsman, I think anyway, is they run 2 different Sportsman divisions on a weekly basis. They run one on Hoosier tires and then run another on American Racer tires. I think that's a little ridiculous, but they do it. They're going to continue to do it. They ran the Hoosier tires on Friday, and then they had 4 cylinders as well. Modifieds and street stocks, they were also part of the program on Friday night, but they only ran dashes. Those dashes were just to set either the pole or the front row for those 2 features. They were racing on Saturday night. I was not at the track Saturday night, but I'll give you a full rundown of everything that did happen, since it was a 2-day show and something that I had been to the first night. So first feature that was out on the track for Friday night was the 360 sprint car feature. Very good race as a whole. The track was a little bit rougher in the beginning portions of the night, and there was still some roughness throughout the night, but as the night progressed, you could tell that it was starting to smooth out, especially up in the top side of the racetrack. That's where a lot of the really, really fast cars like to run, like your sprints, your super late models, big block modifieds, is that they gravitate towards the top quite a bit. Not saying that the track is not racy all over, because it absolutely is, but they gravitate more towards the top than anywhere else. So once that started to smooth out, it allowed the guys to kind of push things a little harder, get a little edgier with their racing, and it put on a really good show. It looked like Jonathan Preston was going to have the dominant run of the night. He ran away with his heat race. He actually set a faster lap time in his 360 heat race than what the All-Star Circuit of Champions ran earlier in the summer. And those are 410s. So if that kind of gives you any indication of how fast the track was, a 360 ran a faster lap time than a 410 did. Preston jumped out to an early race lead, was on fire, running away with it, flat right rear tire. Came to a stop, took away any and all chance of him being able to win the race, which was quite disappointing, because he had one hell of a race car. It was a bad fast car. He was doing everything right rear tire lets down, game over. So unfortunate ordeal for Jonathan Preston. And then another thing that I would like to make mention of from this feature race was the 2019 Empire Super Sprints champion Paulie Colagiovanni. He had a wild experience in this feature event. Did not get upside down. However, he was very close to doing so. The caution came out. I think it was for something else. There was a car that had spun out. I think it was during a caution where somebody had spun out just off the pit entry into turn number 2. He had happened to spin out, and as everybody's slowing down, either Paulie just didn't catch the caution right away, or the guy in front of him checked out faster than he was expecting to, jumped over the right rear tire of that car in front of him, skimmed across the catch fence, and came back down on all fours around the outside of the track, pulled it in the pits, and that was the last that we saw of him. So how he did not end up tearing the catch fence down, I have absolutely no idea. But it was extremely wild. Fortunately, he didn't flip. The catch fence was unharmed, so no major issues there, but it did knock Paulie out of the race. As for the race that actually happened up at the front during the later stages of the feature event, really good battle between Jason Barney, who is a former Empire Super Sprints champion, and Pennsylvania sprint car standout Lucas Wolf. He came on up to race with us, which he does often. He races up here in New York quite a lot. For him being a Pennsylvania 410 guy, to see him come up here and race 360s as much as he does, I always find that super cool. I've always loved watching him race because he's a phenomenal driver, and to see him come back up here after his injury earlier in the year was awesome. He put on a great show with Jason, and at the drop of the checkered flag, it was Lucas Wolf to pick up the win. Jason Barney finished in second. Kyle Jerome was third. Jim Hoopanen, I will go with, was finished in fourth, and Pete Richardson rounded out the top five. Joe Trenko was sixth. Dale Rogel seventh. Mikey Krutchka eighth. Mike Kohler ninth, and Dave Axton rounded out the top 10 for the 360 sprint car feature. Again, great show. Awesome to see Lucas get another win, and him and Jason Barney had a great battle in the later stages of the race for that feature. Hoosier Tire Sportsman feature, another fairly good contested feature event. Not a lot of cautions, good green flag racing throughout most of it, and Brett Buono was able to pick up the feature win there. Andrew Smith was second, Tommy Collins was third, Zach Sabak in fourth, and Luke Carlton rounded out the top five, with Jordan Bacon sixth, AJ Miller seventh, Marshall Hurd eighth, Dalton Martin ninth, and Alex Payne rounded out the top 10. A little bit of attrition throughout the race, but not too much. It was a fairly good contested race, and a solid win for Brett Buono in the Sportsman. The third and final big feature of the night on that Friday night was the Four Cylinders. Four Cylinders put on a hell of a show. The top five cars were battling with each other big time throughout the majority of the race. They had some green flag racing early on, which kind of allowed them to separate themselves from the front of the field. And then they ended up getting into it, and a couple of them dropped out. Some crashes started happening, and it kind of lowered the numbers a little bit amongst the top five. But the racing up front for that four-cylinder feature was really, really good, and it was Ray Heyer who picked up the win. Chris Leone was second, Bill Wells Jr. was third, Scott Lehman Jr. was fourth, and Stan Matthews picked up the fifth-place finish, with Cameron Nichols in sixth, Tom Van Etten in seventh, Erica Bell in eighth, James Kreidler the third and ninth, and Eric Raleigh completed out the top 10 in the four-cylinder feature. Great turnout of cars for that one as well. They ended up having to run 4 heat races and a consolation event for 4 cylinders. So that's really good. They had a great car count. Was very awesome to see that. And they put on a great show. The Modified Dash was to set the pole for the big 70-lap, $7,000 win race that happened on Saturday night. That was won by Corey Costa. The only other major thing to mention in that event was the flip of Chris Ostrowski. I have absolutely no idea how he ended up upside down. It happened as soon as Corey Costa took the lead, so I was watching him, watched him go by, and then out of the corner of my eye, I see Chris flipping up underneath of the flag stand. Got up into the catch fence a little bit, flipped it over a couple times. He was in good spirits. He was okay, got out and kind of made some type of joke or funny gesture to the fans, because I heard some laughter over in that area once he got out of the car, so it was good to see that. But yeah, Corey Costa picked up the Modified Dash win, so he ended up starting on the pole for Saturday's event. And then in the Street Stocks had 2 of them. They have a big World 100 event. Or no, it's the Empire 100. I'm sorry, I don't know why I call it the World 100. That's stupid. The Empire 100 for the Street Stocks. Those 2 dashes were won by Jake Karnowski and Glenn Wertenauer. That set the front row for their big race on Saturday. And speaking of all of the Saturday action, even though I was not here for the Saturday features, I do still want to make mention of what went down, with it being as big an event as it usually is. So the Big Block Modified feature, 70 laps, $70,000 to win. That was won by the Hurricane, Steve Payne. Alan Johnson finished in second. Pat Ward was third. Matt Shepard was fourth. Corey Costa, pole sitter, finished in fifth, with Nick Nye sixth. Tommy Collins in seventh. Ray Bliss in eighth. Tyler Seary ninth. And Kyle Coffey rounding out the top 10. Pretty cool to see Steve Payne get a big win like that. He is a seasoned veteran, to say the least, in the modified division, and he picked up another win on Saturday night. The 100-lap Empire 100 race for the street stocks went to Glenn Rittenauer, one of the dash winners from Friday. Kurt Stebbins was second. Gene Sharpstein was third. Butch Green fourth. Chuck Winslow rounding out the top five with Axel Jensen in sixth. Ted Morseman seventh. Tyler Yeagle eighth. Jared Hill ninth. And Jimmy Grant rounding out the top 10 for the Empire 100 in the street stock division for Dutch Hogue Memorial Weekend. Sportsman ran again on Saturday night, but Saturday night's race was with American Racer tires. That was a 30-lap feature, and it went to Kenny Peoples. Tommy Collins was second. Zach Zabak third. Brian Fish was fourth, and Steve Gray running out the top five with AJ Lloyd sixth, Kenny Hammond seventh, Luke Carlton in eighth, Carl Comfort ninth, and Will Shields rounding out the top 10 in the Sunrise Insulation American Racer Sportsman 30-lap feature event. 4 other classes competed on Saturday night. The next one on the results list were the IMCA Modifieds. That was won by Brandon Smith. Tyler Stoddard finished in second. Brad Smith third. Rich Michaels Jr. in fourth. Ray McClure fifth. Mike Stoddard sixth. Rodney Morgan seventh. Leonard Miller eighth. Mike Ziscotti, we'll go with, in ninth. And Garrett Bennett rounding out the top 10 in the IMCA Modified feature. 4 cylinders ran again on Saturday night. Stan Matthews was the winner of that feature. Let's see, Stan finished in 5th place on Friday, so a 5th and a 1st for Stan Matthews in the 4 cylinders. Tim Dunn finished in 2nd, Chris Leone 3rd, Bob Doolittle 4th, Mike Stone finished in 5th with Eric Rowley 6th, Jacob Dupra 7th, Chris Bonofsky 9th, Joshua Oles in 8th. Joshua Oles was 9th, and Larry Buscombe rounding out the top 10. Hobby Stocks, Marion Decker Hobby Stocks were also part of the show. Mark Minutolo scored the win there. Frank Burnell was 2nd. Jamie Eldridge Jr. in 3rd. Phil Yaw 4th. And Aaron Miller rounding out the top 5. Wayne Ellison 6th. Bruce Kinner 7th. Sean Lloyd 8th. Mike Bradley 9th. And Chris Woodard, your top 10 in the Hobby Stocks. 7th and final feature for the Saturday night portion of the Dutch Hogue Memorial at the Outlaw Speedway was won by Nick Groff. Small field for 600 microsprints. I think I just said the guy's name without even saying what class it was. Nick Groff won 600 microsprint feature. Michael Kaiser was 2nd. Ivan Forney 3rd. Eric Wise, finished in 4th with Kristen Dombrowski in 5th. Jerry Kreckman 6th, and Bill Nichols was 6th. Only 6 microsprints showed up for that one, but they did still run, and that was your full field rundown. So there is all of your results from the Dutch Hogue Memorial at the Outlaw Speedway this past Friday and Saturday nights in Dundee, New York. As I said, I was not there on Saturday night. I went down to Pennsylvania for a 2-race doubleheader. The first one I attended was my very first trip to the Mahoning Valley Speedway in Lehighton, Pennsylvania. They ran, they had a Pro 4 / Hobby Stock Open Comp race. That was a 40-lapper. They had a small car enduro. They had East Coast TQ midgets, and they had a junk car race. First time being at the racetrack, very unique shape. It's just about an entire circle around. Like the front stretch is actually sort of kind of straight, but everything else is like a legit circle. So lots of turning, very unique layout, very small racetrack. Car counts were not all that great on Saturday. I think the TQs had like maybe 10 or 11 cars. Everything else was in the single digits. So it wasn't ridiculously exciting, but it was nice to get to a track that I had never been to before, check it out, and see what kind of racing it did produce. The Pro 4s ended up going caution-free in their 40-lap race. They only had 4 cars, but the winner of that race was Jake Kibler. The small car Enduro was the third thing that ran, but the results page have it second, so I'll just run with that. They ended up running 129 laps in 30 minutes is how they did. They had a 30-minute time limit for their Enduro. Only had like 11 or 12 cars tops for that. I think maybe it was more towards like 9 or 10. So with it being a smaller Enduro, wasn't a ton of like crazy exciting action. You had a couple guys bouncing into each other. They threw some cautions every now and then if somebody got up by the wall to go in and pit, because they don't have a permanent pit entry at that racetrack. It's just a gate that they keep closed. So usually Enduros, they just keep running them unless somebody flips or catches on fire or something major like that. Then they'll throw a caution. But they couldn't do that. So they would throw a quick yellow, open the gate so the car would go into the pits, close the gate, and away they went back racing again. So that's what they did for that one. And that one was won by Harry O'Neill. He took the lead semi-early in the race and just ran away with it. He had a really good car. Lapped the majority of the field, stayed out of what little trouble there was, and picked out the win. East Coast TQ Midgets ran second. They had like 3 or 4 different divisions that were running in there because they had like TQ Midgets that are normal looking, like updated TQs, and then they had some vintage TQs running in there. So I think they crowned like 3 or 4 different winners. The only one that they have on the results sheet was the guy that won the overall race, which was Tyler Wagner. It was his 18th birthday on Saturday, so he was able to celebrate his birthday in Victory Lane. And then the junk car race. Junk car race was very interesting. It was basically an Enduro with cars that don't have cages. The Enduros that are run at Mahoning Valley Speedway are part of a series that they also do at Evergreen Raceway, which is in Drums, Pennsylvania. And those junk cars were basically Enduro cars just without roll cages. That series requires roll cages and a little bit more safety innovation than what the junk car race was. Junk cars, they had like 7 or 8 of them. They ran a 15-lap heat race and then a 25-lap feature. They took some cones and some tires and made like a funky little roval out of the track. It was actually pretty cool. There was some beating and banging during the feature. One car ran, so they have light poles on the infield for the racetrack, and on the backstretch they cut through. They have like this little tiny pavement strip that cuts through some of the infield on the backstretch, and they used that as part of their course. So they put some of the big tires around that pole, so that way it would not get knocked over or hit. Well, it ended up getting hit. First lap of the feature, a couple of cars going through there. It's a skinny little path, and those cars were beating into each other. Guy hit the tire, knocked it up on its driver's side. Didn't go completely upside down, but he did flip it up onto the driver's side. He ended up coming back down. He tried to get the car rolling again, but was not able to do so. And that one actually had the best finish of the day. The two guys, they only ended up having like 3 cars for most of the feature after that happened. But the top 2 ran a really good race. They were beating and banging off of each other. Let me think here. The guy, second place, I think it was, he went in as, I'm trying to remember exactly how it went. But either way, they went into the last turn. Beating and banging ensued. The leader ended up getting spun out. Tried to save it. Couldn't save it, and then I think he ended up getting a hold of it and dumped the guy for the lead. It was wild finish, beating and banging, spinning across the line. That one was won by Ricky Gardner. With that show being as early in the day as it was, it allowed me to pull a doubleheader, my final doubleheader of the racing season. It's crazy to say that, but it's the truth. And I finished that one off with the Thunder on the Hill Racing Series finale at Grandview Speedway. They ran a big block, small block race, the 22nd annual modified traffic jam, 40 laps, $5,000 to win. They had a sportsman race, and they ran the Mid-Atlantic Sprint Series, which were 305 sprint cars. The modified race was pretty good for the most part. With it being a cooler night, the track took a while for it to kind of finally start slicking up and widening out. Oh my gosh. But as it usually happens at Grandview, it did, and it became a really good show. Some cautions were thrown in there to kind of keep things spiced up and working well. But at the end of it, it was Jeff Strunk who picked up the victory. the $5,000 victory in the 40-lapper. Mike Guler came in second. I'm going to come back to him here in just a moment. Brian Herthler was third. Richie Pratt Jr. fourth. Rick Laubach rounded out the top five. Kevin Herthler sixth. Ryan Watts seventh. Craig Von Doren eighth. Doug Manmiller ninth. And Frank Cozy rounded out the top 10. Mike Guler came from the 20th position in 40 laps to finish in second place in that race on Saturday night. Phenomenal drive by Mike. He was able to steal the very last transfer spot in the very last heat race on the very last lap in the very last turn. Ripped it around the top, qualified in through the heat race, so he had to start all the way back in 20th, but he put on a show, drove through the field, and finished in second, so definitely worthy of that mention there. Sportsman feature race. I looked at the results here, and it popped up for the heat first. The Sportsman race was also pretty entertaining. It was mainly dominated by one guy, but watching the Sportsman race down there, it's a lot different than watching them up here. They are open sportsmen, so they're a little bit faster than what the crate sportsmen are up here in New York. And they run sail panels down there. A lot of people that are just getting into Northeast modified racing have issues sometimes figuring out which is a sportsman, which is a modified. I'm a seasoned veteran, so I know what the difference is, but a lot of people struggle with that. So they had the sails on the sportsman, no sail panels on the modifieds. But overall, it was a very good race. Kevin Herthler picked up the victory there. I'm sorry, I looked right at the heat results again. Brian Herthler picked up the feature race. 25 laps, he won it. Jared Ummenhauer was second. Ryan Lillick third. Mike Mamano was fourth. And Brad Brightbill in fifth. Lex Shive was sixth. Craig Whitmore seventh. Joey Vaccaro eighth. Dakota Kohler ninth. And Jimmy Leby rounded out the top 10. So many people nowadays like to complain about how the NASCAR Cup Series drivers run in the Xfinity and Truck Series races. I would hate to see those people watch racing at Grandview because there are a lot of big block drivers that run in the Sportsman as well. Both of the Herthlers ran in the modified feature. Ryan Lillick was in the modified feature. Jared Ummenhauer was in the modified feature. Craig Whitmore was in the modified feature. So there's a lot of crossover at Grandview. I don't make a difference to me. It's racing, so I go to watch the show. It was a good race. Final feature on the night were the mass sprint cars, Mid-Atlantic Sprint Series. They ran a 25-lapper, 3 of 5 sprints. Only slowed down, I think they only had 2 cautions. The first one, there was a self-spin in 1 and 2, and then I had no idea that it had happened until the announcers had mentioned it. There was a car tipped over on its side on the entry to turn 3. Didn't look like it was anything serious, just kind of plopped it over. Left front was banged up and damaged. But after their feature, they ran a lot of green flag racing. Lots of green flag racing, that one, which helped to make it go by pretty quickly. Kevin Nagy picked up the feature win there with Tim Tanner Jr. in second, Eddie Wagner third, Larry McVeigh in fourth, and John Heigl finished in fifth. Larry Geiges finished in sixth. Sorry if I horribly pronounced that. Dave Brown in seventh, CJ Fasten in eighth, Tom Carberry ninth, and Ricky Diva rounded out the top 10 in the Mass Sprint Car Series feature events. Little did I know that was going to be my final race of the weekend. Did not at all plan for that to happen. My original plan was to go back to Grandview the day after because they were running an Outlaw Enduro Series race, but unfortunately they had rained that one out on Saturday night due to the impending weather that was going to come through on Sunday. It ended up being the right call because it did rain quite a bit, but it stunk because I had booked a hotel. Didn't end up needing to use the hotel. Thought that I was going to be alright because I found out that there was another race going on down there. It was a pavement race at Evergreen Raceway. Was going to do that, and then I woke up in the morning and they had canceled as well. So ended up staying down in Pennsylvania Saturday night for nothing, but it happens. So what are you going to do? So I ended up coming back home on Sunday, yesterday, and just enjoy the day. So that was my race chasing weekend this past weekend. We'll be heading back out this upcoming weekend again. But we'll get to that later. There's still a lot of other things to chit-chat about. One of those being the Loud and Dirty Fall Nationals that went down at the Brockville, Ontario Speedway up north of the border in Brockville, Ontario, Canada. That is Brockville's big race of the year. How they usually... Well, it's not how they finish up their year. I believe that it's either this upcoming weekend or one of the previous weekends or one of the upcoming weekends here. They run an enduro. But the Loud and Dirty Fall Nationals is how they celebrate their end of the season. All four major dirt car touring series competed during that weekend. So you had the Super Dirt Car Series, the Dirt Car 358 Modified Series, Dirt Car Pro Stock Series, and the Dirt Car Sportsman Series. Pro Stocks, Sportsman, and 358 Modifieds crowned their champions, while the Super Dirt Car Series will do that at the World Finals next month. That event set up a very, and it didn't really set one up. It just continued to give us an incredible points race heading into the World Finals for the Super Dirt Car Series. After his issues in the Billy Worker Cars 200 at Super Dirt Week, and I think it was a 31st place finish, Matt Shepard was able to rebound, and he picked up the win. Whoop-de-doo. Larry White finished in second. Matt Williamson was third. Billy Decker was fourth. Jack Lehner, who started on the pole and led like 3/4 of the race, ended up coming home in fifth. Ryan Arbuthnot was sixth. Ryan Godown seventh. Mike Mahaney eighth. Mario Claire ninth. And Danny Johnson rounding out the top 10. With Shepard winning the race and with Matt Williamson finishing in third, that put the advantage to Matt Shepard. He now leads the points by just 6 points over Matt Williamson as they head into the World Finals next month. I'm not entirely sure how their point system works because they don't post their point system, but I know that they do have heat racing points. So that's why there was a 16-point swing, even though there was only 2 spots difference between Matt and Matt. I wish I knew, but I can't really dive into it too much for you, unfortunately. But that's what we're looking at heading into the World Finals. Pretty wild moment for Eric Rudolph. He ended up getting upside down. I think it was lap 34 of the race. Just all by himself, right around the top side of the racetrack, hit the edge of the track wrong, and he flipped it. Flipped it pretty good. Rolled it about 3.5 times, and since I'm talking about it, I might as well just pull up the video for you guys, since it was very nicely posted in our Facebook group. You would know that if you were in the Facebook group. So, let's check it out. Eric Rudolph's wild ride.
Meanwhile, later, I'm very impressed with the way he's...
Oh no! I didn't tell you to stop.
Impressed with the way he's been running.
There we go.
4 laps completed.
No! My computer is trying to do so much right now. Alright, let's drop the quality. Let's see if that helps it.
Very impressed with the way he's been running. 34 laps completed.
This is not fair. Now I look like an idiot. You have failed me, technology.
Meanwhile, later, I'm very impressed with the way he's been running.
Well, I was trying to show you what happened. Alright, I'll give it a refresh, and we'll go from there. Alright, there we go. Alright, there we are. So see, there's Eric, and away he goes. Big time flip into turn 1. They show a slow-mo of it, but... Oh, of course. Now that I touched it again, it ruined it. Alright, one more refresh.
I'm very impressed with the way
I'm not touching the thing anymore.
34 laps completed. He is still running away with this race.
Oh my gosh! I'm a run over.
Oh, Eric Rudolph up and over several times in corner number 1.
All by himself, hit the edge of the racetrack the wrong way and rolled it over. Fortunately, Eric was A-okay. No injuries to that driver. But obviously not at all how he wanted to spend his Loud and Dirty Fall Nationals. Do have some good information about him coming up here in just a little bit. Well, 2 pieces of good news. But that is how his
question.
That's not what is supposed to pop up. But that was part of his. I didn't realize that it changed from the group. That was part of his Fall Nationals. So after that feature event, Matt Shepard is now back on top of the Super Car Series points, keeping the intense point battle between him and Matt Williamson rolling into the World Finals. Lots of other racing going on up at the Brockville, Ontario Speedway. Some of the support divisions. Let's see. I don't believe this. No, this is. This is okay. So I'm just going to scroll through these results, let you know how everything happened. In the Pro Stock feature, Dirt Cars Pro Stock Series feature, rookie driver Tyler Bushy picked up his first win in the Pro Stock division. Stéphane Lebrun was in second place with Jay Corbin third, Marc Lalonde in fourth, and Eric Jean-Louis rounding out the top 5. CD Beauchamp was 6th, Burton Ward 7th, Martin Machad was 8th, Brian Carter 9th, and Lee Miller rounded out the top 10 of the 15-car race. That was the season finale for the Dirt Car Pro Stock Series, and champion goes to CD Beauchamp. So congratulations to CD, the 2019 Dirt Car Pro Stock Series champion. Also competing, as I had mentioned, was the Dirt Car Sportsman Series. I believe they ran Friday as well. Jonathan Ferguson picked up the feature win there. Brad Rouse was second, Kevin Root third, Matt Janzik fourth, and Brianna Ladisseur finished in position number 5. Michael Dussault was 6th, Cedric Govero 7th, William Racine in 8th, Thomas Cook in 9th, and Dan Ferguson rounding out the top 10. I'm so sorry if I'm butchering these Canadian names. It's just my bad. I'm trying my best. Dirt Car Sportsman Series champion. Third place finished the 34 machine of Kevin Root. Kevin had a phenomenal season once they started counting the big points towards the end of the year. I believe he won his regional championship, and he also picked up the big championship. So congratulations to Kevin Root. Kevin Root is a local driver for my racetrack, Brewerton Speedway. And actually, if I'm thinking correctly, I believe he did win the Brewerton Speedway Track Championship as well. So it was a very good year for him this year. Mini Stocks competed at the Loud and Dirty Fall Nationals as well. That one, again, Canadian names. Sorry if I ruin it. That one was won by Alexis Charbonneau. Jamie Clark finished in second. Jamie Larocque was third. Mark Dagenace was fourth. And Adam Filer in 5th, Brian Cross 6th, Devin Kipp in 7th, Mark Goucher 8th, Ian Reed 9th, and Ryan Brown rounding out the top 10 in the mini stock feature. They really good numbers in this one. My results sheet goes down to 25 cars. I don't know if there was anything further than that, but a nice turnout for mini stocks up at Brockville this past weekend. Sprint cars ran on Saturday night. This was another Lucas Oil Empire Super Sprint sanctioned event. That one was won by Steve Poirier. Matt Tanner was in second. Jordan Poirier was third. Jason Barney fourth. And Danny Peebles was fifth. Brett Wright sixth. Chris Jones in seventh. Paulie Colagiovanni in eighth. Tyler Cartier in ninth. And Sean Donath rounding out the top 10. In that sprint car feature, they had 20 cars were supposed to run. 19 of them ended up starting the feature. So congratulations to Steve Fireball Poirier on picking up the feature win this past weekend at Brockville. The other major series that competed there that weekend was the Dirt Car 358 Modified Series. They had their season finale as well. As previously mentioned, they ran for 110 laps. I showed you and told you that Eric Rudolph had a terrible night on Friday night by flipping his big block. Did not have any issues on Saturday, and he was crowned the 2019 Dirt Car 350 Modified Series champion after an incredible year. So congratulations to Eric Rudolph on picking up that championship. The winner of the race was Canadian driver David Hebert. Michael Maresca, if you remember, your 2019 Outlaw 200 winner, finished in position number 2. Matt Williamson was 3rd. Ryan Arbuthnot 4th. And Eric Rudolph, the series champion, brought home the championship with a 5th place finish. Tim Fuller was in 6th. Mike Mahaney 7th, Luke Whitaker 8th, Steve Bernard 9th, and Tristan Draper running out the top 10 finishers in the Dirt Car 358 Modified Series feature event. So congratulations once again to David Hebert on the win and to Eric Rudolph on the championship. Also running that, looks like it's the last results sheet that I have from the Loud and Dirty Fall Nationals are the street stock results. Street stock race was won by Jeff Humphrey. Nick Govero finished in 2nd. Wade Purchase was 3rd. Rob Murray in 4th. And Oliver Boissonneau. Or Olivier. Or no, it looks like Oliver. Oliver Boissonneau will go. Was in 5th place. Mike Freeman 6th. Tyler French 7th. Travis Newman 8th. Mark Tudrow in 9th. And Steve Brady rounding out the top 10 in the street stock division for the Loud and Dirty Fall Nationals up at the Brockville, Ontario Speedway. As mentioned, that was the final piece of results that I had from that one. Busy weekend up at Brockville, as it usually is. Like I said, I believe that they have an Enduro coming up here within the next week or two to close out their season, but that's their big party, celebration, major event that they do each and every year to close out their racing season. And then the Enduro is like a big old little celebration to really wrap it all up and call it a year. And they usually get some really good cars for that Enduro, or a good car count. So if you're up in the Canadian area, highly recommend going to it because it looks like it's been a good show. Some fun little news and rumors and tidbits going around in the dirt modified world up here in the Northeast. There could be some speculation that Brett Hearn may be nearing the end of his driving career. Brett Hearn, you don't really have to know too much about Northeast Dirt Modified Racing to know who Brett Hearn is or what he has done. Very, very popular name up in this area and has had a wildly successful career. A gazillion and a half championships, over 900 wins. Just a phenomenal year. A little excerpt that I was sent that makes people kind of think that this could be it for Brett the Jet Hearn. As part of this article here, this little excerpt that I'll read. Let's see here. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing out on anything too crazy in the article. But this little portion of the article says, should the Eastern States 200 at Orange County be his last at the track he cut his teeth at, a victory there would rightfully cap off his career there as it should be. The track, however, has changed drastically with new clay. Gone is the hard clay, replaced by a slicker surface. Hearn has often struggled on at Central New York State tracks such as Weedsport and Utica Rome, where he failed to qualify for Tuesday's Dirt Car 358 Modified 100. Hearn, however, closed out the regular Orange County season with back-to-back wins. So that right there, should the Eastern States 200 at Orange County be his last at the track he cut his teeth at? Apparently, from what I've heard, is that he has said that if he were to race only one race a year, it would be that one. It would be the Eastern States 200, which is coming up this weekend at the Orange County Fair Speedway in Middletown, New York. To know that and to hear comments that this year could be his last one, it'll be an interesting story to follow. It will definitely be interesting to see how that one all works out. Obviously, nothing confirmed or nothing major in the news about that. So I guess we'll see how that all plays out. But could possibly be the end of the driving career for Brett Hearn. Again, I'm not setting anything in stone. I'm just kind of saying that there's a possibility floating through the air. Guess we'll just have to see how it all works out. Chassis change for Heinke Baldwin Racing and their main driver, Jimmy Phelps, this upcoming weekend at Eastern States 200. They will be going to a Bicknell chassis after running with TOs for the majority of the year. It's really no secret that Jimmy Phelps has had a rough year this past year. I know he won one race at Brewerton this year. He might have won at Land of Legends Raceway this year. I'm not 100% sure on that one. That was something that I wanted to try to pull up for myself, but I didn't do so. So let me see if I can find that really quickly. See if they keep wins in their point standings. They do. So I know he ran there full time this year. Did he not run there full time this year? I could have swore he did. Well, now I just look like a big dum-dum-dum. Because he did not. There were only 2 people that won Land of Legends this year, and none of them were Jimmy Phelps, because he did not race there full time. Alright, so I just got put in my place. But yeah. Oh, hey, look, right there. 5 starts. He was 21st in points. 5 starts, 4 top 10s, 4 top 5s. So there you go. I found him. So no, he did not run full-time at Land of Legends. But yeah, that one win at Brewerton this year was his only win all season long. He has not won anything on the Super Dirt Car Series. If you want to count the qualifying events as Super Dirt Week as wins, might not be a bad thing to do that because he hasn't won a lot this year. And Bicknell has been on a massive rise. Bicknell chassis have been winning just about everything left and right. Continuing to gain support, and they're on top right now, so it makes sense. Jimmy Phelps and HBR have not had a phenomenal racing season. Definitely not the season that we would expect out of that team and that driver. So for them to be making the change from TO to Bicknell this weekend at Eastern States, we'll see how it goes. Maybe it has an effect on them right away. Maybe it won't. And it'll be fun to kind of see how that plays out moving forward for 2020 as well. The other good piece of news for Eric Rudolph is that he has landed himself another ride for next weekend down in Georgetown, Delaware, at the Georgetown Speedway for the Short Track Super Series event and the Mid-Atlantic Championship weekend. Just scrolling through here, there was another article that I failed to pull up to provide the information on. So I'll just scroll down through the group page, which you should totally join. Chasing the Racing Podcast on Facebook. I'm so happy with how this group ordeal is going. So yes, let's see here. Eric Rudolph. He will be racing the Mid-Atlantic Championship weekend at Georgetown Speedway next weekend. That is the Short Track Super Series South Region. That will be their season finale for the South Region. North Region wraps up this weekend, or this upcoming Thursday, actually, at the Orange County Fair Speedway. Quote from the article on DirtTrackDigest.com. Quote, "It's official. Eric Rudolph will pilot the Chesapeake Paving No. 9R Bicknell Pro Powered Machine at Georgetown Speedway November 1st and 2nd, stated car owner Jeff Brown. The idea came about my secretary Whitney Welch, who mentioned having somebody come and pilot one of my hot rods. So we then talked and thought about Eric Rudolph and thought he would be a great fit. She spoke with him and the process then started. We spoke the day after Super Dirt Week and he firmed the plans. He's flying in on Wednesday the 30th to put the final touches on the cars. We are hoping for great success with such a talented driver," unquote. So that should be really cool to see how he does next weekend down in Georgetown. Eric is a Super Dirt Car Series guy. He does not run the Short Track Super Series. He does not run most of those tracks. So it'd be kind of cool to see how he stacks up against that competition down there and on that racetrack. And who knows, Not trying to look into it too in depth or anything crazy like that, but maybe if things go well, maybe this turns into something a little bit more. Maybe he lands a ride with them full time next year and races short track super series as well as what he's currently doing now. It'll be pretty fun to check that all out and see what happens. So congratulations to Eric Rudolph. I will be there next Friday night for one of the shows. I don't know if he's racing both shows or not. One show is a small block, it says first and second, so I will be able to watch him race one of those events next weekend at Georgetown. So lots of Northeast dirt racing coverage right there. Glad to get that to you. We'll transition now into the pavement world of motorsports, and we'll start things off in the Midwest. NASCAR had a very busy weekend at the Kansas Speedway. The NASCAR Xfinity Series and the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series competing this past weekend. But before they ran on Friday night, the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards, it's ARCA Menards Series now, okay. The ARCA Menards Series competed Friday night to wrap up their championship season. As we had mentioned on last week's show, and as everybody knows, lots of things going on with the ARCA Menards Series next year. This year, kind of like the last series, or the last year of them being on their own. Next year, they'll kind of make a combination with the NASCAR Can-Am Pro Series, and they'll stay separate with themselves. So that'll be fun and cool to watch. But the solo ARCA Menards Series stayed tried and true this year. That one was wrapped up on Friday. The guy that won the championship just decided to take all the glory this past weekend, and that guy was Christian Eckes. Christian Eckes picks up the race win in the season finale. He wins the championship with that. Michael Self finished in second, Ty Majeski third, Brett Holmes fourth, and Travis Braden finished in position number 5. Tanner Gray was 6th, Drew Dollar 7th, Haley Deegan 8th, Joe Graf Jr. 9th, and Gus Dean rounding out the top 10 finishers for the final event. The points standings, as they are now official and in the books, as I said, Christian Eckes picked up the championship. He won the championship by 25 points over Michael Self. Brett Holmes finished in 3rd. Travis Braden was 4th, and Joe Graf Jr. was 5th. Tommy Vi Jr. 6th, Brad Smith 7th, Tim Richmond 8th, Corey Heim 9th, and Chandler Smith rounding out the top 10 in ARCA Menards Series points. So congratulations to Christian Eckes. His year, 19 starts, 4 wins, 13 top 5s, and 17 top 10s. That is how you win a championship right there, ladies and gentlemen. Only 2 races out of 19 where you did not finish in the top 10. That's freaking consistent. 13 top 5s, so 6 times you were out of the top 5 throughout the whole year, and 4 of those non-top 5s were still top 10s. Great year for Christian Eckes. I'll have a little bit more information for you, or at least an opinion on where I think his year is going to go come 2020 a little bit later on in the show. So that was on Friday night, the ARCA Menards Series taken to the track at Kansas Speedway. Saturday had the NASCAR Xfinity Series compete. They kicked off their round of 8 in the championship playoffs. I didn't get to see this race, but I did keep up with all of the information and the drama that happened with it. Lots of drama in Kansas this week, as has kind of been the norm with Kansas over the last few years. Really, the main turning point in the race was, oh my God, NASCAR app, stop. Was late in the race. Chase Briscoe and Christopher Bell racing for position, racing for the lead, not even position, racing for the lead late in the going, trying to get around the lapped car of Garrett Smithley. Garrett's running around the bottom side of the racetrack in 3 and 4, moves up the racetrack where Chase Briscoe and Christopher Bell are running. They all come together in turn 4, and all 3 of them crash. Chase ended up getting the better end of the deal. He just kind of got a little out of shape and went right on through. But Christopher Bell was all torn up, spun through the infield. Garrett Smithley spun around, backed it up into the wall, totally changed the complexion of the entire race. Look, I really don't have any issues with Garrett Smithley. Me and a couple friends a couple of years ago at Daytona, we chipped in money to sponsor him for a race. They all treated us well. He is a great person, but there is just absolutely no excuse for that. And I'm not going to beat him up too bad because he took complete ownership of it and was as honest and felt like crap as he could be. But there's just absolutely no excuse for that. There's been a lot of drama as of late when it comes to lap cars getting in the way and causing issues for lead lap cars over the last month or so. Him most recently getting into an issue with Kyle Busch during the Cup Series. I didn't see anything wrong with what happened there, but this is just completely uncalled for. You cannot be making mistakes like that at this level of motorsports. I guess he said that his spotter had made the transmission, but he didn't hear it, wasn't paying attention to his surroundings, whatever had happened. Took the leaders out and dramatically influenced the outcome of the race. Those two guys, both Chase Briscoe and Christopher Bell, they are championship contenders right now. And had one of the two of them won that race, they would have moved on to Homestead to battle out for a championship. Ultimately, it did not end up happening. Neither one of them picked up the win. Chase was still able to come home with a really good finish. Christopher Bell, not so much, but still wasn't terrible. Opened the entire complexion of the race, and first-time winner in the NASCAR Xfinity Series this past Saturday. It was Brandon Jones scoring the win. Tyler Reddick was second, Chase Briscoe third, Michael Annett fourth, Justin Allgaier rounding out the top five. Great run for Jeremy Clements. He finished in sixth, Justin Haley seventh, John Hunter Nemechek eighth, Ryan Sieg ninth, and rounding out the top 10 was the number 10 of Ross Chastain. Christopher Bell ended up finishing in 12th. So not at all what he was hoping to do, even if he wasn't going to win the race. But those were the cars that were handed to him and what he has to deal with moving on into Texas in 2 weeks. NASCAR Xfinity Series will have this weekend off, but they are back for the final three races of the season next weekend at Texas, going into that race at Texas. Because Brandon Jones was eliminated from the playoffs after the first round, that win does not lock him into Homestead. So Christopher Bell is on top of the point standings right now with an 11-point gap over Cole Custer. Tyler Reddick is 1 point behind Cole in third. Justin Allgaier in fourth, 47 points back. And then on the outside, looking in, helps if I would pull that up the right way. So Christopher Bell's the leader, 49 points ahead. Cole Custer second, 38 points up. Tyler Reddick, 37 points up. Justin Allgaier, 2 points up. Chase Briscoe is fifth, the first man out, only 2 points back. Michael Annett is sixth, 12 points out. Noah Gragson, seventh, 17 points out. And Austin Cindric is eighth, 30 points out of the championship four. So, some tight races still, even after all the drama. Should be fun and interesting to see how things go at Texas Motor Speedway. Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series took to the track yesterday for the Hollywood Casino 400. I was able to catch, I'd say, a good portion of the second half of the race. Pretty competitive race. Lots of good side-by-side, 3-wide, 4-wide racing action in Kansas. That track has aged now to the point where you can really race all over it, top, bottom, middle, wherever. If it's got pavement on it, you're probably going to be able to race on it. And we saw that very, very, very well yesterday at Kansas. It looked like it was going to be a kind of a simple, nothing too dramatic and crazy race until late in the going. I think it was like with 21 laps to go. My boy YRB went up there and slapped the outside wall, cut down the right rear tire, brought out the caution flag. Reason why it was so dramatic was because Chase Elliott and Brad Keselowski were like 3 or 4 points away from each other, and that was the cut line. Brad was in, Chase was out. So they have a restart. Lead lap cars come into pit. Chase goes on a monster run up through the field, gets himself almost to the lead up to second place. Caution flag comes out again for Bubba Wallace. His left rear tire came completely off the car, backs it in the wall. Matt Tiff spun to avoid. Sets up a late race. I think that one. I don't know. I don't think it did end up setting up an overtime. I don't think that one did. But they had a late race caution. Or they had another caution after that. Well, all right, hold up. I'm getting out of order. So that caution with Bubba Wallace, Brad Keselowski was so bad yesterday that he dropped down off the lead lap. And that caution from Bubba allowed him to get back on the lead lap, because the caution for Ryan, he ended up staying out with all the other wave round cars to get the wave round, put himself back up on the lead lap. And then that caution allowed him to come in and pit, get fresh tires, thought he was going to be set, good to go, and was going to blast through the field, get the spots that he needed, and win or get his way into the championship. He even gained spots on pit road because of all of that went down. But it didn't end up doing much. He started deeper in the field. They take the green flag coming off of turn 4. Daniel Suarez moves up the racetrack, gets into him, causes a 3-car crash with Suarez, Hemrick, and his teammate, Joey Logano, who also, after that event, had to kind of hope that things were going to go his way with the championship, because he could have gotten knocked out. A little bit of controversy. Did they get to the white flag? Did they not? They did not. Denny Hamlin was so freaking close at getting to the white flag, but the caution flag did come out. Re-racked him again, had a green-white checkered, and Denny Hamlin held on to win the race. Chase Elliott came home in the second place position, which did allow him to advance into the round of 8 for the playoffs. Kyle Busch finished in 3rd, Kurt Busch was 4th, William Byron 5th, Martin Truex Jr. 6th, Eric Jones 7th, Clint Bowyer 8th, Kevin Harvick 9th, and Jimmy Johnson rounding out the top 10. Brad Keselowski had a horrible restart off that final green-white checkered, ended up losing positions, and I think he ended up being like 3 or 4 points out of the cut and was eliminated from the NASCAR playoffs. Alex Bowman, William Byron, and Clint Bowyer were the other drivers that were eliminated from the playoffs yesterday. So the round of 8 starting this weekend at Martinsville Speedway will look like this. Kyle Busch is your points leader. He has an 18-point gap over the cut. Martin Truex Jr. is 2nd, 14 points up. Denny Hamlin 3rd, only 9 points up. And this is where it gets crazy. Joey Logano is 2 points up in 4th, and then below the cut right now to look moving forward with the championship playoffs. Kevin Harvick is 5th, 2 points out. Chase Elliott is 6th, 6 points out. Kyle Larson is 7th, 19 points out. And Ryan Blaney is 8th, 21 points out. This is it. The round of 8, it's go time. It's go time. It's crunch time. All of those bonus and those playoff points that you earn and you've gotten throughout the season, they really don't mean too much now other than the seeding. Kyle Busch has 46 playoff points. He's only 18 points above the cut right now. So you cannot have any mistakes. Time to strap in, get your ass in gear, and go out and win yourself a race to put yourself in that championship 4. It's going to get good these next 3 weeks. Should be very fun to watch. Points battles are tight. Everything's all nice and reset. And no matter where you sit at in the final 8 right now, you've got an opportunity to make it in. One of the things that just drives me insane with this playoff format is that they love just immediately jumping to this must-win scenario. Chase Elliott was 22 points out heading into yesterday's race at Kansas. Didn't win. He finished in 2nd place and was able to transfer in because of how bad Brad Keselowski's day was. Ran where he needed to all day, got the stage points, and transferred in. I'm so sick and tired of listening to so many media people and so many people in the sport saying, must-win scenario. All these guys are in a must-win scenario. Oh, we know, yeah, it's possible that they could point their way in, but you all know they're in a must-win scenario. No, they're not. Chase Elliott proved that. You can make up 22 points in a race, and he did that. He got himself in. Like, my goodness, it drives me insane how much the media tries to shove that down your throat. It's just not true. And this was a great example of that. So I know it's not going to stop because they get addicted to the must-win term with the playoffs, but Chase proved that yesterday, that none of them were in a must-win scenario. Just things worked out the way that they needed to. You can finish in 2nd place, all right? 2nd place with maximum stage points is a 55-point day. 55 points, and Chase needed to close in 22. Now, Chase didn't win the first 2 stages yesterday and finish 2nd, but 35 points for finishing in 2nd place. Let me see if I can figure out what exactly he scored for points. I might be able to if I look at the fantasy here. Driver stats. Let's see. Chase Elliott. Those are starts. No, all right. I'm not going to get too involved in that because it's going to take up too much time. But if you can go and score 55 points with 2 stage wins and a second-place finish, and you need to make up a 22-point gap, well, what if Brad Keselowski doesn't score any stage points? Then that right there, that puts Chase Elliott 2 points down on the cut. All he has to do is beat him by 3 spots, and he's made it in. So I get so sick and tired of listening to the must-win scenario. I know it's not going to stop, but Chase Elliott proved right there and in there yesterday that the must-win scenario ordeal, 22 points out in one race, is total garbage. So, just wanted to kind of put that out there. Lots of drama and news this past week in the NASCAR world as well. Even just getting to the racetrack. We had 2 race teams have issues with their transporters getting to the track. JTG Doherty Racing had an issue with their number 47 hauler for Ryan Preece. It caught fire on the way to the racetrack. Severe damage, burned it all down. I think they said that they're speculating that it was a brake problem. Nothing confirmed on that yet, but I think they were thinking it was either a brake or an electrical issue. But lots of damage done to that hauler, and that race team set them back behind tremendously. And then Colleague Racing had a trailer crash on the way to Kansas. Sounded like they had somehow lost control. No, I'm sorry. The driver of the transporter had some type of medical issue, drove over a guardrail down an embankment, and the trailer ended up tipping over and ran into some trees. You couldn't really tell from the photo that was first shown. It was just the trailer laying on its side, and the side that was on the ground was the one that was all torn up. When it hit the trees, it just peeled it open, just destroyed it, did damage to the cars when they tried to flip it back over. Like, everything caved in and fell. Fortunately, nobody was severely hurt in either of those incidents. Lots of damage, lots of money involved. But the good thing is that everybody survived without any major problems. Ryan Preece was able to take over the rookie points lead this past weekend, and Ross Chastain finished in 10th. So overall, it was a good weekend for both of those guys. And just glad that everybody's okay and that they were able to get to the racetrack and race the way that they were supposed to. A lot of other news, lots of news this past week in the NASCAR world. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has found a home for 2020. Him and Chris Buescher are basically going to flip-flop rides. Stenhouse is going to drive the number 37 Chevrolet Camaro for JTG Doherty Racing in 2020. That was announced, I think, last Tuesday or Wednesday. So after losing his ride to Chris Buescher at Roush Fenway Racing, Ricky will go over to JTG Doherty Racing for the 2020 season. I kind of feel like it's a ride that fits him right now. He's struggling. I think Chris Buescher is a better driver than he is and kind of deserves that ride more than what Ricky does right now. In a lot of ways, I think Chris has outperformed what JTG can really do. But at the same time, he's had a really consistent year. So I don't think it's a terrible team. I don't think it's a great team. I don't think Ricky's a great driver. I don't think he's a terrible driver. So I think that'll mesh up really well. And I'm looking forward to see what Chris Buescher does in the 17. So I guess we'll see how Ricky's year goes. But maybe he can kind of give some more advice and information towards Ryan Preece. I mean, Ryan's a rookie this year. And he's extremely intelligent, very hands-on with his modifieds when he was racing modifieds. But we'll see how that goes for next year. Could be a great fit for all parties involved. We'll just have to see what happens. Another driver has landed his ride for 2020, but he's not going anywhere, and that would be Clint Bowyer. Clint Bowyer has renewed his contract with Stewart-Haas Racing for 2020. Not exactly sure how long it is going to be for, but we know for a fact that he will continue to race for Stewart-Haas Racing next year. Now the only thing that is unconfirmed is what's going to happen with that 41 car of Daniel Suarez. Negotiations are still being made with Suarez. There's nothing confirmed that he will or will not race with them. But that's the latest, the last one that we're looking to figure out in the SHR camp. crazy prediction right here. If you're asking for it out of me, I think Suarez is going to keep that ride in that 41 car. You're going to see Corey LaJoie move from the 32 to the 38 car at Front Row Motorsports, seeing that David Reagan is going to be leaving the sport at the end of this year. There have been rumors that have been going around that Go Fast Racing is going to get technical support, from Stewart-Haas Racing for next year, and I think that's going to be the landing place for Cole Custer. So Corey LaJoie from the 32 to the 38, Custer to the 32 car, and Suarez stays in the 41. That's going to be my prediction. Mark it down right here. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm right, booyah. That's what I'm going to say. Jimmie Johnson was in the news this past week, saying that he has about 4 to 6 months to figure out what he's going to do with his future, with his career. Everybody knows Jimmie Johnson has not had that great of a run these last couple of years. He missed the playoffs for the first time this year. But he's a 7-time freaking champion, and he's one of the best drivers to have ever competed in the sport. So it's completely up to Jimmie Johnson what he wants to do. Ally is going to stick on with that race car for a few more years, so he's got the sponsorship if he's going to stay, and he's Jimmie freaking Johnson, as I just said. He's got that ride for as long as he wants it. He has said mainly it's a conversation that he needs to have with his family, what they want out of him, and we'll see what happens. So 4 to 6 months from right now, that puts it between February and April, the beginning portions of next season, which works out great because his contract ends at the end of next year. So that will be very interesting to see what happens moving forward for Jimmie. I gotta be honest, I don't really think he's done racing. I don't think that he is entirely ready for retirement yet. Maybe he is. And we'll find that out in the future, but I kind of think that Jimmie's going to stick around for a little while longer. I don't think old 7-time is ready to hang up the helmet just yet. And then the last piece, well, at least for the Cup Series, the last piece of like silly season news that's going around is about Kurt Busch and that number 1 machine. It seems that Kurt is going to stay in that 1 car. Nothing confirmed, but talks with Chip Ganassi Racing on a contract extension. Things are starting to go in that right direction. Heading into this year, it was going to be mainly performance based to see how things go. He had said if he had a good year, he was probably going to stick around. If he didn't, then he was going to call it quits. Kurt made the playoffs this year. He qualified that with a win at Kentucky over the summer. Unfortunately, he was eliminated the first round of the playoffs, but he still made the playoffs, won a race this year, and has had success. He just coming off a 4th place finish yesterday. So I would expect him to come back. I think another factor into that would also be the fact that who's going to fill his shoes. Chip Ganassi does still have ownership over Ross Chastain, but Ross has a full-time Xfinity deal for next year, so I don't really see him taking over that number 1 car just yet. So I kind of think Kurt's going to stick around for a little while longer. He has also said that some of his talks with Ganassi are about an IndyCar as well. So he competed in the 2014 Indianapolis 500. He got the Rookie of the Year for that race. Finished in 6th with Andretti Autosport. So possibly interested in running the Indy 500 again, or maybe running some more IndyCar races at other different racetracks. He's not the only one. Jimmie Johnson and Kyle Busch have also expressed interest in racing IndyCars. So obviously staying in good connection with Chip Ganassi is a way to do it, because Ganassi has a very successful IndyCar team. And if he's a Ganassi Cup driver, it could very well help him out become a Ganassi IndyCar driver if that's something that he's looking to do. Harrison Burton is on the move in the NASCAR world. He will pilot the number 20 Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing in the NASCAR Xfinity Series in 2020. I was a little surprised at this news when I first heard it. I was a little turned off by it. Honestly, I don't think that Harrison is completely ready to go to Xfinity yet. He's run a few Xfinity races this year. He's been full-time with Kyle Busch Motorsports in the trucks throughout this year. in the 20 races that he has started. He has 7 top 5 finishes, 10 top 10 finishes. So he's finishing top 10 half the time, but he has not won a race. He did not make the playoffs. He was not close to making the playoffs with KBM, and that's not good. KBM is one of the 3 best teams in the trucks right now, and he failed to make the playoffs. I've heard Dave Moody say this a lot on his show, and I really agree with it. If you're not winning at the current level you're at now, you're probably not ready to move up yet. And I don't really think that Harrison's ready to move up, so I do have some concerns there. I actually called in and talked to Dave on his show about that. And just on the flip side of that, with as competitive as the racing world is nowadays, it's hard to pass up these opportunities like this. You get something, you kind of have to take it, because if you don't and you hold yourself back, that might not be open to you when you think you're ready or when somebody else thinks you're ready. So I totally understand it. I hope that he's not being rushed and he'll be able to have a successful career with NASCAR as a whole. We'll see how it all goes, but initially my thoughts are concerning about Harrison. But we'll see what happens. This obviously now it opens up a spot at KBM in that 18 truck, and this is where I come in with my prediction that I was hinting at earlier in the show. I think that's where Christian Eckes is going to go next year. I think he's going to go to the 18 truck full time in 2020. Christian's raced with KBM a few times throughout the year. He just, as we reported, he won the ARCA Series championship this year with 4 wins on the season, including the finale. So I definitely think that Eckes is ready for a full-time truck ride, and with him having a connection with KBM already, and with an open spot at KBM, maybe Eckes is the answer for that seat. We'll have to see what happens, but that would be my pick if I were to have to make one. Geico was in the news this past week with NASCAR, coming out as the first company that is going to be part of the partnership deal for the Cup Series moving forward in 2020. If you have not heard, things are going to change with title and sponsorship. For the Cup Series next year. They are not going to call it the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series anymore. Probably just going to end up being called the NASCAR Cup Series, and instead of having one big sponsor, they're going to have multiple sponsors kind of chip in throughout the year and have a bigger role in what they do with NASCAR, but not have all of the massive responsibilities as being like the title sponsor. Geico has been around the sport for years, currently a sponsor with Germain Racing and Ty Dillon's number 13 car. And they are the first company that is looking to sign as a premier partner for the Cup Series. The Cup Series' new sponsorship model. I think it's a great idea. If you, instead of try to get one company to put up all of this money, you now have a bunch of companies putting in smaller amounts and still getting the same, if not more money. So I wish nothing but the best for this with NASCAR, and I think it could very well be a great move. We'll have to see who jumps on and how it all works out next year, but I've heard a lot of positivity about this, and I think this is nothing but good for the future of NASCAR. Last big thing that I've got for NASCAR news is that they finished the purchase of ISC this past week. So the merger of ISC and NASCAR has been completed. For those that are unaware of that, ISC is one of the companies that owns about half of the NASCAR racetracks. And NASCAR is trying to acquire both ISC and SMI so that way they can own all of the racetracks and kind of put everything under one banner, as you could say. This has been reported to help with the sale of NASCAR. If NASCAR gets sold, all of the tracks would come with NASCAR. It is a major help in the scheduling department moving forward. We've heard so many times that there's going to be a new schedule in 2021 and that things are going to be much different. Purchasing the NASCAR having rights to all the racetracks makes that extremely, extremely easier to bring in new racetracks or to move things around. Instead of going to these companies and saying, hey, yeah, we're going to take a race away from you and put it for this guy over here. Where if NASCAR is the owner. NASCAR can make that decision because they own it. Instead of going to Dover twice a year, we're going to go to this racetrack this year, and then we're going to give Dover that race back for the following year, and we'll take one away from Michigan that next year. Or it makes that whole so much easier to go through. So this is another thing. Nothing but good for the sport. I fully expect to hear the same or start hearing things about NASCAR working on a merger with SMI, so that way they have everything. The only two tracks that would be the exception would be Pocono and Indy. Pocono and Indy are independently owned, so NASCAR probably won't go after those, but if they're able to work with them fairly well, then they shouldn't have too many issues getting everything to work out like the way that they want it to. Pocono has already helped out by next year doing the doubleheader, taking away an entire weekend and shoving it all into one. So that, I think, is going to be a can't-miss weekend for 2020. Highly encourage everybody to go to that if you can. We'll have to see how it all plays out, but if that goes well, it's going to help Pocono stay on the schedule instead of losing one of its dates. They have a big doubleheader weekend, and maybe more tracks will do that in the future, and it can help with condensing the schedule. Just a lot of things benefit out of Pocono doing that, and the ISC merger with NASCAR helps with all of that. So should be fun to see how all that goes moving through the future. So we're going to transition back into the dirt world here. We had some major dirt racing series go into action this past week. First off, starting with USAC. The USAC National Midget Championship had two races over this past week. The first coming at Wayne County Speedway in Wayne City, Illinois on Thursday night. It was the Jason Leffler Memorial. That one was won by Sunshine Tyler Courtney. I watched the highlight video of that race. Phenomenal race, my gosh. Top three cars were all over each other late in the going. Thick ass cushion around the top side of that racetrack. And bobbing and weaving through lap traffic, Tyler Courtney made a late race pass, led the final 3 laps, took the win from Tyler Thomas, who led the first 37. Jason McDougall finished in 3rd. Logan Seavey was 4th. Justin Grant rounding out the top 5 with Chris Windham in 6th, Brady Bacon 7th, Darren Pittman 8th, Sam Johnson 9th, and Tucker Klossmeyer finished in position number 10. Logan Seavey was the hard charger of the race. Went from 19th to finish up in 4th, so 15 spots gained throughout that 40-lap feature. Couple other notes that are here. Cannon McIntosh flipped during the 3rd qualifier, and Zeb Wise flipped on lap 24 of the feature. Zeb Wise ended up finishing in 15th after that flip. As mentioned, that was the first of 2 races that they had this past week. The other one was at Tri-State Speedway in Haubstadt, Indiana. That one, the Haubstadt Harvest Cup, that was won by Jason McDougall. Jason McDougall picking up the victory in that event. Lots of lap leaders in that 30-lap event. He took the lead on lap 21, led the final 9 laps. Well, actually, I think that would be the final 10 laps. Led the final 10 laps to pick up the feature win. Kevin Thomas Jr. finished in 2nd. Kyle Cummins was 3rd. Tyler Courtney 4th. Justin Grant 5th. Logan Seavey 6th. Tucker Klossmeyer 7th. Thomas Meseral 8th, Tanner Thorson 9th, and Zeb Wise rounding out the top 10. Tucker Klossmeyer had a flip lap 1 of the feature, came all the way back to finish in 7th place. Hard charger for that one was Justin Grant, started 16th, finished in 5th. Let's see. Logan Seavey led the first 7 laps, and Kevin Thomas Jr. took the lead 8 and 9. McDougall led lap 10. KTJ took the lead back for laps 11 through 16. McDougall took lap 17. Meseral led laps 18 through 20, and then Jason McDougall took the lead on lap 21 and never looked back. The point standings, After those two races, Tyler Courtney holds the points lead. It's 1,718 points over Chris Windham at 1,564. Logan Seavey is third, 1,534. Kevin Thomas Jr. fourth, 1,478. And Zeb Wise rounds out the top five, 1,435. Tanner Carrick is 6th, Jared Coons Jr. 7th, Chad Bowe 8th, Jason McDougall 9th, and Tucker Klossmeyer rounds out the top 10 in the points. The next events for the USAC NOS Energy Drink Midget National Championship will be November 15th and 16th at the Arizona Speedway in Santan Valley, Arizona for the 52nd Western World Championships. It is a 1/3 mile dirt oval. We've been talking about the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series since the beginning of this show 2 weeks ago. They wrapped up their season this past weekend with the Dirt Track World Championships at the Portsmouth Raceway Park. I believe, is that right? Portsmouth Raceway Park? Yes, it is. That was a 2-day show. Friday was preliminary events, and then Saturday was the big show. Big show was won by the Rocket Shep, Brandon Shepard, picking up the $100,000 victory. Just continue to add on to the insane year that he has had. That's at least his third $100,000 win. He won the World 100 and the Dirt Million this year. So picking up some massive, massive money in 2019. Absolutely insane. Mike Marlar finished in second. Tyler Erb was third. Josh Richards fourth. Dennis Erb Jr. rounding out the top five. Bobby Pearson sixth. Scott James seventh. Scott Bloomquist was eighth. Hudson O'Neill ninth. And Kyle Bronson rounding out the top 10. With that being the season finale, he had locked it up heading into this event. Jonathan Davenport, your 2019 Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series champion, with 8,170 points. Tim McCready finished in second with 7,700 points even. Josh Richards was third, 7,660. Tyler Erb fourth, 7,590. And Jimmy Owens was fifth, 7,540. Devin Moran, his first full year with the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series, finished in sixth. Hudson O'Neill 7th, Earl Pearson Jr. 8th, Kyle Bronson 9th, and Shannon Buckingham rounding out the top 10. Some interesting storylines I had seen earlier today about that race. Jonathan Davenport was actually disqualified from that event, so it was a good thing that there was no championship battle going on during the event, so it didn't cost him his championship. So, reading an article from racingnews.co about the information, I want to make sure I get this right, so I'm just going to go straight through the article here, or at least parts of it. Let's see. On lap 40, Davenport slowed to bring out a caution. He thought he had a flat tire and went to the pit area under yellow. The crew changed a tire. Davenport returned to the track. He restarted at the rear of the field. He drove to a 9th place finish. However, the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series has a new rule in place for 2019. The rule is simple. If a driver slows to bring out a caution, he can only change the tire if the tire is actually flat. Even if the driver spins by himself, he still can't change tires unless any of the said tires are actually flat. The rule is in place to prevent drivers from slowing on the track even when they don't have an issue, just so they can change tires or make setup changes under the yellow flag. In the longer races, this was an increasing problem before this year. Officials walk the infield pit area and monitor these types of situations. Usually they'll catch teams before it happens and remind them of the rule to help them out. In this case, Davenport's team changed the tire. It was later discovered by officials that the tire they took off was not flat. After the race, Davenport was disqualified. Instead of finishing 9th, he finished last, 26th position. As mentioned, had no impact on the championship. He still won the championship. I honestly love that rule. I think that's something that we should institute up here in the Northeast, because that happens way, way too often. Guys just stopping just before pit entry to get the yellow flag, and then as soon as it comes out, they dart into the pits. Garbage. I hate it. I would love to see something like that happen up here. Whether it was completely intentional by Davenport and his team or not, I have no idea. Probably will never find that out. But nonetheless, he was disqualified from the race and ended up with a dead last finish. Didn't really do too much for him, but at least for the championship, but was still able to walk away as the champion. I'm kind of rambling because I'm like multitasking right here. I can't even think of the words. I'm just so spaced out at the moment. But yeah, disqualified from the race, still wins the championship. Jonathan Davenport, 2019 Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series champion. I should not have closed that article out, but other news with the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series is that they released their 2020 schedule this year, or for this weekend. Got that schedule released and out to the public, which is awesome. I hate the end of racing season, but it means that those new schedules start to come out, so that's cool. Always cool to look at. 56 races on the 2020 Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series schedule. Lots of your same events. They're going to kick things off down south with the Winter Nationals at Golden Isles. Well, actually, that's the Super Bowl of dirt racing. And then the Winter Nationals at East Bay Raceway Park. Still going to have the Dirt Million Late Model Knoxville Nationals, World Dirt Track Championship, Pittsburgh 100. All that's still on the schedule. Closest events to me this year, well, next year, will be a couple races that they're going to run at Port Royal Speedway. They're going to run their Rumble by the River in the middle of April, and then they're coming back for a dirt track throwback event at the end of August for a 2-day show. So that should be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to that. They're running again at Raceway 7 next year out in Coneo, however you say that, Ohio. So that's not too far a distance from me, but I think that's the same day as Outlaw 200 weekend, so I won't be doing that. We don't really get a lot of attention up here in New York for the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series. Kind of have to travel to go see them. Not that I have an issue with that, but we have World of Outlaws races here in New York instead of LOL MDS races. So I guess it's kind of a pick your poison ordeal, but lots of time to start planning your race chasing, and see which events you can attend. So if you are not familiar with that schedule yet, check it out. 2020 Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series schedule has been released. The World of Outlaws NOS Energy Drink Sprint Cars took to the racetrack twice this past weekend. The first was October 18th, so that was, Friday? Yes, Friday. At the Lakeside Speedway in Kansas City, Kansas. Winner of that event was Donnie Schatz. Started 5th, picked up the win, $10,000 to Donnie. Logan Schuchart finished in 2nd. Brad Sweet in 3rd. Brian Brown 4th. Darren Pittman rounding out the top 5. Kerry Madden 6th. David Gravel 7th. Sheldon Hollenshield 8th. Brent Marks 9th. And Craig Kinzer rounding out your top 10 finishers. KSE Hard Charger Award went to Brent Marks. He moved up 13 positions en route to his 9th place finish. The second event, that was also the FVP Platinum Battery Showdown. Second event going on over the weekend was the Jason Johnson Classic, presented by FK Rodens at Lake Ozark Speedway in Eldon, Missouri. And who better to win the Jason Johnson Classic than the Jason Johnson Racing number 41 machine of David Gravel. Started in 4th, took the win, $10,410 going to David Gravel. Sheldon Hollenshield finished in 2nd, Logan Schuchart 3rd, Brad Sweet was 4th, Darren Pittman in 5th, Jason Sides in 6th, Craig Kinzer in 7th, Donnie Schatz 8th, Shane Stewart 9th, and 10th place was Brent Marks. KSE Hard Charger went to Shane Stewart. He gained 10 positions en route to his... Where did Shane Stewart finish? 9th. Shane Stewart finished in 9th. Nice charge to the field for Shane. They will be racing again this weekend. 2 shows for the Nittany Showdown at Port Royal Speedway. I am hoping to go to the race on Friday. I will not be going on Saturday, but I'm hoping to go on Friday. So we'll see how that all goes. Trying to pull up the point standings here, but they're not showing up. Oh, hey, there we go. So as long as their updated point standings look as this, the championship points coming down between Brad Sweet and Donnie Schatz, really. Brad leads Donnie by 32 points. David Gravel is 3rd, 102 back. Darren Pittman 4th, 326 back. And Logan Schuchart is 366 back in 5th. Carson Macedo 6th. Ian Madsen 7th. Sheldon Hollenshield 8th. Shane Stewart 9th. Brent Marks rounding out the top 10 in World of Outlaws NOS Energy Drink Sprint Car Series points. Again, as just mentioned, 2 races this upcoming weekend. The penultimate event for the series at the Port Royal Speedway in Port Royal, Pennsylvania for the Nittany Showdown. And then after that, they'll be off to the World Finals to finish up their season, as with everything else in the Dirt Car / WRG world. 2 more stories to get to here before we turn things over to you guys, the viewers. Anything that you would like to talk about. We mentioned it last week as part of the show, so we have to follow up with it. The Bathurst 1000 drama has been settled. There has been a penalty given to DJRTP. Race winner Scott McLaughlin and Alex Premat have kept their victory in the Bathurst 1000, but the team has been found guilty of breaching FIA rules during the race. During the race. They were handed a $250,000 fine and lost 300 points from the championship tally. It also took the number 12 car of Fabian Coulthard and Tony D'Alberto from 6th to 21st in the results, last place of the classified finishers. The stewards decided to suspend $100,000 of the fine until the end of 2021, seeing that the team has not had any previous issues in the past. This was all decided on this past Saturday after Fabian Coulthard's slowdown out of the safety car on lap 134-161 raised suspicion that the rules had been breached. Coulthard held up the field after being told via team radio to slow due to debris on the circuit. The team later argued the call to slow was made to avert overheating issues with the car. Slowing allowed Coulthard to avoid double stacking behind teammate McLaughlin, who, along with Jamie Whincup, was able to pit and return to the track ahead of the field. Stewards concluded the team breached the FIA's obligation of fairness regulations, but stopped short of implicating the squad's number 17 McLaughlin / Premate entry in their findings. Quote from the stewards. Quote, "We are prepared to assume that there was no intention of advantage car number 17. However, it defies belief that the engineer of car number 12 just happened to have formed a mistaken belief that there was debris at some unknown location on the circuit, and that just fortuitously resulted in the very problem anticipated with car number 12 being resolved." Unquote. The team had initially been charged with a breach of Supercar's team orders rules, but that was switched to the FIA's obligation of fairness on the grounds of ambiguity? How do I not know that word? I don't know. Around the form of regulation. The fine is the largest in Supercar's history, and together with a points penalty, the biggest sanctions able to be applied by the stewards for the breach. DJRTP now holds a greatly reduced 423-point lead over the Red Bull Holden Racing Team in the team's championship. Coulthard, meanwhile, drops from 3rd to 4th in driver standings, now 907 points adrift of leader McLaughlin. So, penalties given out there from the Bathurst 1000 from last weekend. Team still keeps their win, or the drivers and the car, but a lot of penalties handed down from that one. Final thing that I've got for you guys before we send things off to you to see if there's anything that you guys would like to talk about. We had some two-wheel action this past weekend. The Monster Energy Cup happened for the Monster Energy Supercross. I was busy Saturday night, so I didn't catch most of it. I was extremely upset at myself because I knew what was going to happen. With it being a West Coast race, I got back to my hotel in time to watch the third main event, and I damn fell asleep for it. So the Monster Energy Cup is the little off-season special event that Monster Energy Supercross has a couple months before the start of their season. They run 3 main events. It's just like their Triple Crown events. They run 3 main events. Your finish, you get a point per finish, or for wherever you finish. So if you win, you get 1 point. Second, you get 2 points. Third, you get 3 points, etc., etc. After 3 main events, the rider with the lowest point total is the winner. With the Monster Energy Cup, the winner of the event wins $100,000 unless you win all 3 main events. And if you do, you win $1 million. That did not happen this year. It happened last year for Eli Tomac, but it did not happen this year. Eli Tomac was the rider to establish that possibility in the first main event. He won it. Adam Cianciarulo was second, and Malcolm Stewart was third. I had absolutely no idea that Adam Cianciarulo was going to be moving up to 450s this year, so that'll be pretty fun to watch. He had an incredible debut in the Monster Energy Cup, as you'll find out here in a few seconds. Main event number 2, Eli Tomac threw it away. He dumped himself during that one, so no $1 million for Eli. Malcolm Stewart picked up that one. Adam Cianciarulo with another second-place finish. Eli Tomac was third. You kind of get a recurring theme here as the top 3. Main event number 3, actually, I should say, after that second main event, the 3 of them were tied at 4 points apiece. So it was highest finisher takes it all, and that one went to Adam Cianciarulo. As I said, I fell asleep, watched the highlights, missed a great race, of course. He picked up the win in the third main event. Eli Tomac was second. Malcolm Stewart was third. That's how they finished in the overall results. So Adam Cianciarulo picking up the win in the 2019 Monster Energy Cup for the Monster Energy Supercross. Awesome way to debut your 450 career. It'll be very fun to watch him next year in the series, moving up from 250s. I'm hoping that 2020 is the year for Tomac, but either way, it should be fun. I hate to look forward to that part of the year where car racing starts to slow down and bikes come out. I got no problem. I love Supercross, but I'm not a fan of winter. I hate winter. I hate the lack of racing in the winter, but Supercross helps me get through. So I'm looking forward to the start of Supercross here in a little over 2 months. Going through the rest of the results, why the hell not, right? Super Mini ran 2 races. Evan Ferry won the first race. Gavin Towers was second, and Noah Viney was third. In race number 2, Evan Ferry won again. Chance Hymas was second, and Gavin Towers was third. The overall results, obviously with him winning both of the races, Evan Ferry won it. Gavin Towers was second, and Miles Gilmore was third. In the 250 class, they also ran 2 events. Jet Lawrence won it. Brock Pappy was second, and Jalik Swoll, top 3 in the first main event. Jet Lawrence won again in main event number 2. Jalik Swoll was second, and Brock Pappy was third. So Jalik Swoll and Brock Pappy switching positions between the 2 races. Jet Lawrence won them both. So that gives him the overall win. Jalik Swoll was second, and Brock Pappy was third. Not sure how they decided that because they both ended up scoring the same amount of points, but that's how they did it. So more power to them, I guess. And then the KJSR, the little tiny kids ripping around their little bikes on the course. Gage Dunham won that. Travis Johnsmeyer was second, and Braxton Zeitner was in third. So that's everything that I've got to present to you for this week. We've had a lot of discussion, a lot of talk throughout this show about a lot of things racing. So this is where we send things over to you guys. Live chat has been a little quiet tonight. So not too sure how many of you are all out there, but if there is absolutely anything that any of you guys have to present to me that I did not mention, that you would either like brought up, any stories that you think are deserving of being talked about this week, any questions that you have for me, what you are planning on doing this week, your thoughts on what has happened this past week in the racing world, now is your time to shine. Let me know what you think. We'll do this for a little bit, and then I'll give you guys my my week ahead preview. And we'll wrap this thing up. As I said, great to see all the discussion that was had this past week in the Facebook group. If you are not already part of the Facebook group, you can join that at the link down below in the live chat. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll have it in the description. That Facebook group, we put that, I decided to have that instead of a regular Facebook page, just to get more interaction with it, so that way you guys have more of an impact on what I talk about in the show. Giving me feedback on the show, what you think about it, things that could be improved, things that sucked, things that were awesome, stuff like that. So make sure that you put yourself in that Facebook group. We continue to grow. We're a little over 100 members in that Facebook group, so thank you guys very much for all of that support, putting yourself in there. It's great to see that grow as much as it has in such a short period of time. and I hope that we can continue to see that happen. Should be pretty damn cool to see that happen over the future. Oh, thank you, Snaz. Thank you very much, Snazafraz. How are things going right now? I gotta pull this up. I'm not watching because I'm in. Let's go! 24-0 Patriots at halftime. Hell yeah! That's what I'm talking about, baby. I'm in here doing the show with you. That's how much that I love racing and how much I love you guys. I'm sacrificing watching my Patriots play Monday Night Football right now to be here with all of you. So I appreciate you tuning in for being here for what it's worth. Looks like some testing at the dirt track at Charlotte's going down tonight. That's pretty cool. Pretty damn cool. World Finals coming up here in just a few weeks. Should be a great show. I'm going down there. I can't wait to go down there. It's going to be great. Third year in a row to go down there. I'm very much looking forward to it. Watching from Japan. Dude, that's awesome. That is awesome. Glad to hear that you're here with us. Pats are playing the Jets right now in Jersey, and we're up 24-0. So that's great. This has absolutely nothing to do with racing, and it's only going to be relevant for you who are watching the live show right now. But I'm talking about it anyway. So I guess since things are kind of quiet with the chat, we'll go through. We'll just read a couple of other stories that are posted in our Facebook group. Posted just within the last 20 minutes. Devin Moran has found a ride for 2020. His late model team was shutting down at the end of this year. 2 days after the Dirt Track World Championship silly season begins, Devin Moran rejoins Thai Twarog Racing LLC for full-time ride in 2020. So congratulations to Devin Moran. He will have a ride in 2020. Not that anybody was really concerned that he wasn't going to have a ride, but good for him to be back, or to know that he has job security. Big event coming up this weekend at Kern County Raceway. The October Classic. Got the NASCAR Can-Am Pro Series West racing, as well as the Spears Southwest Tour Series. Can-Am's going to be running a 150-lapper. The Spears Southwest Tour Series is going to run for 100 laps. So that's pretty cool if you're in the area. Kern County Raceway racing Saturday night, October 26th. Get your booty out there. Some interesting... Holy cow, I'm sorry. Some interesting... findings, I guess, or an interesting event going on at Eastern States weekend this weekend at Orange County Fair Speedway. Stuart Friesen, this past weekend they had testing at Orange County for people who wanted to do it, testing and practice. As I said earlier in the show, Eastern States weekend going on this weekend at Orange County Fair Speedway in Middletown, New York. Their big event to close out the year. 200 lapper for modifieds. Stuart Friesen is actually going to put down like some legitimate fast racing laps in the famous Batmobile. That's going to be pretty insane. That was Gary Ballou's Batmobile. That competed in one Super Dirt Week in 1980. They're going to do a little exhibition with it this upcoming weekend. Stuart tested it this past weekend at the test session. Some of his quotes from it, quote, "To see it run again has been really cool. It's an awesome race car and super stable. We're going to make some adjustments, and I bet it'll be faster than the cars we have now. We'll do an exhibition run Sunday of Eastern States weekend and see how it goes," unquote. That's pretty crazy. If he thinks he's going to take that old thing faster than what the current modifieds are going, should be pretty cool to see. I hope that... I will not be going to that event this weekend, but I hope somebody gets some footage of that and we can all check it out. I've been great, man. Things have been good. Things have been really good. Just enjoying the world of racing, starting to bring it back to the people, as many people as I can, and looking forward to seeing how everything goes to finish off this year. Tri-Track Open Modified Series is going to be racing at Seekonk Speedway this weekend. Modifieds, past pro stocks, and late models all racing. That was posted in a group by Mitch Brown. Mitch is going to be attending that event. He had said something the other day about going there. So that should be pretty cool. A couple drivers getting announced for the Gateway Dirt Nationals coming up in December. Let's see here. JHA Motorsports is excited to announce that we'll be fielding 2 cars in this year's Gateway Dirt Nationals. 2019 American Ethanol Modified Tour Champion Will Krupp will be piloting his K19 Elite chassis. In addition to Krupp, we are excited to announce that the 2019 Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series Rookie of the Year, Tyler Erb, will be wheeling the other T19 Elite chassis. Erb will be making his modified debut, so you know it will be exciting. And then somebody else was also just posted in here about someone else that is racing. Let's see. Jeff Larson. Jeff Larson. Is that the guy that... I just want to make sure this isn't the same guy. If it's the same guy, I'm going to feel like an idiot. Okay, no. Yep. Jeff Larson has also been invited to the Gateway Dirt Nationals, another modified driver as well. Used to have races at Riverside Speedway, Springfield, Massachusetts back in the day. Not sure if they still do. I'm not sure. I know. I actually just. It's funny that you mentioned that because I just had today that Speedway 51 in Groveton, New Hampshire. They are actually changing their name to Riverside Speedway. Riverside Speedway and Adventure Park is what they're calling it. So that is interesting. Seems to be like a common name for a racetrack. And as soon as I refresh my my page, I get a post from them about their Winter Blast event. Every year they run a big Winter Enduro, 2020 Winter Blast 100. I hope that I can get a car and I can go run that race. But they just posted their rules, so that is pretty cool. I should pull that up and save that. So I have that in case I get a car. So there are some of the other stories that we had in our Facebook group. As I said, lots of things coming in this week. Way too much to talk about everything. But I love the passion, love the dedication and the effort that you guys are putting forth in that Facebook group. So I hope that we continue to see it and it takes off strong moving forward. So I guess at this point we'll check out the week ahead. My weekend racing plans for this weekend, as I've said, I'm planning on traveling south to the Port Royal Speedway on Friday for the first day of the Nittany Showdown for the World of Outlaws NOS Energy Drink Sprint Cars. I'm not going to stay there for Saturday. I've got a Halloween party that's going on Saturday that I'm going to go to. But on Saturday, I am going to come back here because my Sunday night home track, Utica Rome Speedway, they will be racing on Saturday. They're going to have a show with Sportsman's and Pro Stocks. So I'll be going to that. That'll be their last race of the year. And then that'll be it for my weekend. As we have said, Eastern States Weekend going on this weekend at Orange County Fair Speedway. The Short Track Super Series North Region will wrap up their season on Thursday. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday is all Eastern States Weekend events. 200-lap modified race. I think that's another $50,000 to win race. I'm not entirely sure on that. I've never gone to Eastern States. Will not be going this weekend. But obviously it's a huge, huge deal. And as soon as I talk about the Nittany Showdown, I've got an event page for that, so let's mark that as interested because I love doing that on Facebook. NASCAR is going to be going to Martinsville. Love it to kick off the round of 8 for both the Cup Series will kick off the round of 8. The trucks have already started the round of 6. That's right, because they usually do run the last 3 races, but this year they moved Texas up to the summer, so the trucks will race this week at Martinsville, next week at Texas off, and then they'll be racing at Phoenix and Homestead, and it'll be the opposite for the Xfinity Series. Xfinity Series is off this week, and then they will run the last 3 at Texas, Phoenix, and Homestead. So that is that should be a fun thing to follow. Martinsville is awesome. Martinsville is always awesome. Should be great. Another great show. Hopefully that 12 car can set himself up good for the final round of the playoffs. And get himself in. So obviously we know about all the major dirt racing series. We've already really talked about that. I mentioned to you guys about USAC midgets. I don't really know what's going on with the sprints. So let's just check the results really quick. They're not racing until November, so nothing major with the sprint cars. And Silver Crowns are already done. That's right. So yeah, that's really as much as I can think of, really. Yes, that next year's night race at Martinsville is going to be sick. I really hope that I make that happen. Honestly, there are so many awesome things that are going to happen with the NASCAR schedule next year. It's not even funny. It should be awesome. It really should be an awesome year for NASCAR next year. Still got 4 races to figure out for this year, but yes, I'm very much looking forward to next year's NASCAR. So I think that's where we're going to end it here, guys. I very much appreciate all of the support for tuning on in and checking things out. Again, make sure you put yourself in the Facebook group if you're not already there. I accept everybody. You don't have to do anything fancy to be in there. If you want to be a part of the group, jump into the group. Group's there to stay up to date on racing information, stories, news, just general discussion. You can leave your feedback on the shows. Let me know what you liked, what you didn't like, what needs to change, what I should do, what I shouldn't do, anything and everything. Put yourself in there. Make sure you spread it all around. Let people know about us. I'm hoping to continue to grow this show and make this an enjoyable experience for as many people as I can and as many race fans as possible. I also put the YouTube channel down there. All of the episodes of this podcast will be uploaded to YouTube in their entirety. So whether you miss a portion of the live show, if you miss the entirety of the live show, if you want to relive something, you are more than welcome to do that on the YouTube channel. I'm going to be better at that. I promise you that this episode will be uploaded by Tuesday, which is tomorrow. So if you're watching this on YouTube and it's Tuesday, I stay true to my word because I told you that I would. And we'll continue to do that for the weeks to come. No more issues figuring all that stuff out, so it should be good. Like I said, I told you guys what I'm doing this upcoming weekend. NASCAR's at Martinsville should be great. We'll continue to see what kind of stories and things develop throughout the week. If this past week was any indication, we're going to come here next week with a boatload of stuff to talk about. And I'm looking forward to it. So thank you guys very much for joining. Again, make sure to join the Facebook page. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Get your ass to a racetrack. Find something to do this week that's going on in your local area. Doesn't matter what it is. Get to a racetrack if you can. Support racing. Love racing. Enjoy your racing. It is important. We're down to the end of the year. Things are starting to wind down. Fewer and fewer opportunities to get to the racetrack, so make sure that if you have an opportunity to go racing, you do just that. Thank you again, guys, for tuning on in. I appreciate the love, appreciate the support. We will be right back here next Monday night, October 28th, for episode number 4 of the Chasing the Racing podcast. Have a great week. Enjoy whatever racing it is that you will take, whether it's on the TV, on the internet, in person, whatever. We'll see you right here next Monday night for another edition of the Chasing the Racing podcast. Good night. Have a good week. We'll see you then.